Hello, my name is Ilona, and in this video I want to talk about the repression of the feminine energy and why that's been so important to the dark energies, what has happened, how they kind of planned this, the effect of course, repressing this energy. And I want to make clear that this is just a few points I want to talk about. This is a humongous topic, and we female or male, we have both energies. We have masculine energy and we have feminine energy inside of ourselves. But the dark energies have been working towards repressing female energy. I will be talking about females generally because we represent the feminine energy, and of course see throughout history what's happened to females. I have to say, I'm just going to say it here, the beginning of the video, I'll be talking about the history that is known. We know that a lot of things probably aren't correct, but I'm working with this history because that's what we've been programmed to believe. Most people believe it this way. So I'm going to leave it at that. I do believe that a lot of history has been made up, has been changed, has been corrupted in some way by the dark energies. So I'm just going to say that up front, so I'm so sure people will be reacting, well, we don't even know if it happened that way. I'm just going to talk about the history, what the things I learned in school, and that has, of course, an effect on how you see things and how you view things. So I want to start with the repression of the feminine energies. Why is that important for the dark energies? Well, the dark energies have decided a long time ago to step away from their spiritual connection. That's why they need energy from other people, because they cannot support themselves anymore. They cut themselves off from source. They've done that themselves. I do believe they still have a soul, but they're not connected to it anymore. They've decided to turn away from that. And they've decided to really step into their masculine side, so to speak. Especially connection to your soul, connection to God, is through feeling, is through connecting with your intuition, is connected to the more feminine energies. You need both energies. There is not one energy is better than the other energy. I just want to mention that the masculine is not better than the feminine, and the feminine is not better than the masculine. You need both. And I do believe that we need to balance them. And that's also part of the Great Awakening, balancing masculine and feminine. So the dark energies have been repressing that feminine side. They don't work with them. Most of them are very intellectual. They don't feel. They have no empathy. That's why they can do the horrible things they do, because in essence, they don't have a conscience. They don't feel things about that. They've lost that connection completely. And they want to turn us towards that as well. I already talked about that. We talk about transhumanism and all those ideas they have about connecting humanity to technology so they can really completely dominate us. That's really their agenda. That's what they want. In essence, they've worked out we need to suppress this feminine energy. We need to make sure that people will not connect to their spiritual side, so we can dominate them and manipulate them. Especially the more connected we are to our spiritual side, the more connected we are to God, the more powerful we are, and they will not have any effect on us. Very important to understand, because if we're connected to our soul, we're connected to God, our energy will be very high, and they work on a very low frequency. So they need us to be on a low frequency. So what did they do? Well, a lot of things. And one of the first things they did is to really show female as awful, and everything that's connected to being female had to be degraded, had to be mocked. And they started, of course, with religion. In the Bible, we have the story of Eve, Adam and Eve. And of course, Eve was the one that got seduced. So they were thrown out of the Garden of Eden because of Eve. Females are awful. We have to watch out with females. We should not give them any power. We should not connect with them or place them in any position of power. So we have this history where mainly men were in control. They were the one in position. Females couldn't even vote. They were pretty much property of the men. So men could pretty much do what they want with females, and that's exactly what the dark energies wanted. They wanted to make sure that the female energy were not powerful anymore, that it wouldn't connect to their intuition. They really wanted to shut people off that possibility so that we wouldn't become in touch with our spirituality, with God, and become powerful. So they really put females and the feminine energy in a certain part, like, yeah, that's awful, we shouldn't, feelings are not important, only the intellect is important. If you feel something, that's not how to say that, that's not an argument, you need rational arguments. So they did everything in our educational system to make sure that especially the intellectual side, so the more masculine energies, were overemphasized, and the creative part, the part about feeling, about learning how to deal with your emotions, were completely pushed to the side. They purposely done that, and this damaged females and males. You have to understand that in essence, by repressing the female energies, they really hurt everyone, male and female, because men were not allowed to cry, men were not allowed to show their softer side, because that's weak, that's feminine, that's awful. And females were, of course, already awful to begin with, according to religion and according to the culture where we were brought up in, that we were already second-hand people. So we shouldn't say anything. Of course, things have been changing, but we have to understand that even those changes were made by the dark energies, also with their agendas, and I will talk about that later. So we have the religion, we of course have the Spanish Inquisition that was hunting down witches, women that were working with energies, working with herbs, herbal treatments. They were viewed as awful. Of course, the religion was also talking about tarot, everything spiritual was awful, you shouldn't get in touch with that. They purposely put that in there. The dark energies put that in there so people would not start seeking inside and start connecting with intuition, because really tarot, crystals, these are all things that can help us. They can be used against us as well. Don't get me wrong, these are tools. And a lot of the dark energies, let's face it, they are using dark magic, they use spells, they use rituals, they use them in an awful way against us. But you can use all these things for positive things as well. You have black witches, you have white witches. And that's more about the energy they, manifest. So it's very important to understand that they purposely done this to discredit females, to discredit this spiritual side, to ridicule it. And of course, later on, they brought the New Age as well. They've infiltrated it and used it to keep people passive. They use it in all kinds of ways. So in that case, they do use the feminine energies of receiving and being open for things to happen. That's part of the yin energy. That's the masculine energy is more active, the female energy is more softer, is more relaxed, and they use that to keep people passive. So again, they use energies like the masculine energy, but more the more toxic side of it. Like, you shouldn't feel at all, you have to always be tough, and you always have to push through, and you have to be intellectual and completely cold, and only rational things are important. And of course, if they use the feminine energy, they only use the passive side. Like, yeah, you don't have to do anything, you can just be where you are, it's fine. So the dark energies use it just to keep us manipulated and making sure that we don't connect with ourselves. That's the most important part. Then of course I talked about the educational system, I've talked about the culture. I was still brought up in a family where females didn't have anything to say. The men were the dominating force in my family. They're the ones who could talk about politics. Women had to pretty much shut up because, well, they didn't have anything interesting to say anyway. And I do believe a lot of people are still brought up in that system. Females are less important. Being female, it's just a shame. They really brought that, they really had a plan to repress the feminine, and they do it in all kinds of ways. So I just want to talk about a few things that's still going on and how they're using the agenda again to use the energies in their favor, so to speak. So right now we still have a lot of issues coming up, which I think is a good thing, about how women have been represented in our culture, in magazines, in commercials, in movies, TV. And it's usually they were just a love interest, they were just an object that the man was supposed to win. And usually there was a lot of lust involved, a lot of sexual insinuations involved. That's usually connected with the female. And that's in a way just objectifying the female, just turning her into some kind of body, and that's it, like she's not a person anymore. It's very dehumanizing if you sexualize someone. It's like that person stops to be a person anymore with feelings, thoughts, ideas, but just turns into some kind of object you can throw all your things on, so to speak. And this, of course, is not just for females, but also for males. I do believe that, especially with remarks, jokes, that has like this sexual energy to it, you have to be very, very careful, because I personally believe that it's very quickly very inappropriate. To be very honest, I'm quite private. I'm an introvert, I already mentioned. So if I want to talk about sexuality, it has to be someone who's very close to me, or if I'm in a committed relationship. And it's to me very inappropriate if people approach me or talk about me and make jokes and that have this sexual energy underneath it, that I'm like, I don't think this is very appropriate. I am way more than just a body. And I do believe you can make jokes about me. There's nothing wrong with that, but keep it appropriate. Because that is a way of repressing the feminine. That is a way of, controlling females, but also males. Things have changed. I've noticed, of course, the agenda the dark energies are using. They are now kind of trying to empower women. We had all these feminism, and I do believe we have equal rights. I do believe male or female, you have the right to be respected, you have the right to have a job, you have the right to do what feels right to you. But they're kind of using, to me, that's how it feels like, the dark energies are just using it to oppose male and females. And also there is a lot of feminism that believes that females are better than males, which in my eyes is just ridiculous. That's not true. To me, at least. I believe that we are not better, females are not better than males, and males are not better than females. We really have to stand alongside each other and start working together so we can balance out also the masculine and feminine energies in ourselves. That's what we have to do. And then we connect with each other and with people around us in a completely different way. They're of course also using this empowerment that female have to work, women have to work. And if you have children, we have daycares. And I've kind of watch out with that. I understand that if you want to work, see if you can. I do believe we're going to a completely different system of handling children. Educational systems will completely have to change. But the dark energies wanted women to work. First of all, they'll be exhausted. I already talked about that. People work all the time. They don't have time to think. They don't have time to connect. And of course, their children have to go to daycare. And we have heard horrible things that can happen there. And the dark energies just want to separate parents from their children. And the younger that happens, the easier it's for them to manipulate children. A lot of things can happen. Doesn't mean that daycare is awful in itself. It just means that they can infiltrate that easier. And of course, you have daycares that you have to get wasp stings for children. Otherwise, you're not even accepted. And that's already a way to control children and to get them at a very young age with all kinds of things injected into them. So I have a completely different way of looking at that. I don't think that's a good thing. So they use it again to get to children, to repress females, make sure everyone is exhausted, not just the males, but also the females. And like I said, this is just a humongous topic, so I just want to say a few things about this. I also want to mention, which is very, very important, especially when you're sleeping with someone, just in general, I really don't care what people decide in that area of their lives, how they want to handle things. I'm fine. You want to sleep with certain people, that's fine with me. That's you know, I don't really care about that. I have my own way of handling things. I prefer a committed relationship, and otherwise I just don't. I just, how to say, take care of myself, so to speak. So because you have to understand, when you sleep with people, you're not just exchanging bodily fluid, you are also exchanging energies. And especially when to keep your vibration as high as possible, you really have to find the person you're sleeping with, the partner you've picked at that moment in time, that person has a very high energy as well. It doesn't matter if it's male or female, that's of course up to your preference, what you prefer. Watch out for that. You have to protect your energies because you're connecting with that person. Of course, the dark energies made it seem like it's not that much of a big, you know, it's not a big deal to sleep around. Just sleep around. Don't worry about that. Maybe use a bit of protection. But you should have fun. You should enjoy life. You need to be free. Of course, they were behind this free love in the 60s and 70s from the past century as well, because they want people to spread around, because that will be an opportunity to, for them, obviously, that the energy will be lower, because most people that do sleep around, I'm not saying everyone, they really just care about the lust. That's a very low frequency, and they will carry around a lot of things with them because they kind of focused on finding another partner, finding another fun for that moment, and just moving on. Not looking at themselves, not raising their vibration. So it's very important. It's fine with me if you feel like you want to sleep with more than one person, or a lot of people, or with whoever you prefer. That's fine with me, but really feel if this person has the right energy for you. Because by connecting, you will open yourself up towards the pain that person carries, their traumas. It all happens energetically. So it's very possible that if you do sleep around, it's been a great day, and the next morning you're exhausted, or you're like, hey, what's going on? A few days afterwards, you may not feel that great anymore because you've picked that up in your energy and you kind of still carry it around. So watch out with that. And I think I want to leave it at this, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye.